And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you here today, and thanks for joining us on KCMX. We're both real estate brokers with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon. You know, we get together with you once a week here on the radio and YouTube as well to talk about, well, issues facing real estate in Jackson and Josephine counties. And let me tell you, we've been doing this show for 9+ years, and we have never run out of certainly topics to say, and there's so much going on across the market, and that's why we've got Brad Bennington, who's the CEO of the Builders Association of Southern Oregon. He's in the house with us today.
Hi,
First of all, how are you doing?
Hey, I'll tell you, we're busier than a squirrel in fresh dirt. I'll tell you that. We're going 100 miles an hour forward and backward.
Well, what's really funny about Brad is that when he was first on our show, probably 9 years ago, he was the only show, we had literally nothing to talk about because there was no new construction going on whatsoever. Remember that?
The fact that there was no new construction to talk about with the new home builders.
There was none of that happening. And so here he is today in 2018 in April saying, we're maxed out, right? I mean, you're really that busy.
Yeah. Well, you remember, and some of your listeners will remember, that what we did talk about back then was the fact that because there wasn't anything getting built, that there was going to come a day when all of that backlog was going to come back like chickens come back to roost. And we talked about the fact that that was going to create a very interesting set of circumstances, and lo and behold, we were right.
Yeah, that's absolutely what happened. I was talking with people today in this week in the construction industry and different parts of it, and they're all telling the same story. There used to be 20 of us, now there's only 3, and 2 are retiring, and one of us is left. I mean, this goes on and on throughout different industries, so that's really true. Well, so, I mean, when you say you're busy doing what, Brad? What's happening out there?
Yeah. So when people think about construction, especially you realtors, you think about residential construction, and of course that's on a lot of people's minds, but there's also a lot of commercial construction, and there's a fair amount of non-commercial construction that isn't residential either. But most of your listeners and you're going to be concerned with residential construction. So just to give you an example, one of our larger volume builders, perhaps our largest volume builder, and one of our members is Hayden Homes. Hayden Homes, their mothership is in Redmond. They are a multi-county, actually even a multi-state builder developer. They came down into our market back when some of the properties that we had available were attractively priced because they were coming back from the bank. And they bought a lot of property, which they are currently developing. I think they've got somewhere in the neighborhood, this is just one company, but I believe they have somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 units under construction just here in our market. Wow. 2 weeks ago, we went to something which I think it gives you a really good picture of the character of the kind of people that we have for our members. 2 weeks ago, we went to a wall raising for a veteran in East Medford, where Hayden Homes, through their foundation, First Story, literally, not figuratively, literally is donating a rebuilt home to a veteran, to a military veteran. Nice. The city is donating their fees and inspections, and Par Lumber donated all the lumber for it. Another one of our members, Hayden Homes, donated all the labor to build it, and I think the concrete. I think Knife River donated the concrete. So all of these different people came together to donate a brand new home for this veteran. Now, one home isn't going to fix the.
It's not going to fix the issues or problems.
One donated home isn't going to fix all the world's problems, but it sure made that one veteran's life a lot better. And but those are the kind of people that we have as members. But getting back to Hayden Homes, so they've got 300 units under construction in our market. Mahar Homes has a lot going on. Mahar Brothers.
They're building mostly in Southeast Medford, aren't they? Mahars.
Yeah. So all the builders that we have are building at the maximum pace that they can manage with the labor that they have available. And this is where I remind you of something that we've already talked about before, is we only have today 40% of the skilled labor available that we had 12 years ago. So you line up 100 skilled workers 12 years ago, and we're down to 40. That's all we have left. And we have a market that's overheated because we have so much demand of people that want to come and live here and buy houses.
Yeah, and because we have a shortage of places to go.
And you don't have a great influx of young people coming into those trades, and we're trying to address that. in our communities right now to kind of address that need that we're seeing.
Yeah, vocational education is so important. You know, when the three of us graduated high school back in the day, there was a minimum standard level of performance that you had to meet to be employable, and every one of us came out of high school able to meet that standard. So here was what you had to be able to do to go to work and have a job and be productive, and here's where we came out of high school, and we literally walked out of high school right into our first job. That's just not the way it is anymore, especially in vocational work like ours. Our kids are just not coming out of school with the skills that we need in our industry, which is really odd because we have so many young people who can't find jobs, literally are unemployed. Many of them are living at home with their parents, when we have our industry, which has such a demand for jobs that we can't even come close to filling it.
Well, isn't Medford School District, I know, talking about more technical education, RCC certainly, as they pass bonds for these things. So it seems that, Brad, a few years ago when we were talking about this, not much was happening, but seems to be certainly more relevant now, more talk about it, because we want more action about it, I suppose, in your industry more so than ever right now. And it's not just builders. I mean, it's everything. I mean, we're talking the whole schmo, from appraisers to inspectors and things like that. There's really shortages in across a lot of the different spectrums.
Well, nobody else does for a community what the developers and builders do, because a lot of people don't understand that the majority of everything that people enjoy in civilized society, whether it's police, fire coverage, libraries, and especially education, is all paid for majority by property taxes.
Yeah.
So Jackson County has an annual budget this year of about $340 million. The largest single revenue item on the revenue side of that budget is property tax revenue at $40 million. We're the people that do that. Yeah. We build at one time. Every home, every business, every church, everything that we build at one time, but the county taxes it every year. And that property tax revenue is what pays for the majority of everything that everybody enjoys in our society.
Because we've had the county assessor on with us, and, whenever there's a new property comes on, it's reassessed, I mean, you buy the land is one price, you build a house, they're going to come back and assess it, a different value to it, right? So we know that happens, and of course that money comes into the counties, but it doesn't just give them extra money, right? Isn't it supposed to be blended across the whole spectrum when all this new revenue comes in? Isn't that how that works? I mean, you guys are... Isn't that right?
Well,
it just doesn't add to the county coffers. They just don't get that extra money, do they?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Well, that would be...
and the budget committee then and the commissioners, after the fact, are the ones that are in charge of divvying it up. I just sat through about 8 hours of Jackson County Budget Committee meetings, and property taxes, I don't think they're designated to go to a certain... They're general fund.
It's general fund money. Yeah, they're not dedicated funds. But just for instance, and where the tax revenue goes depends on it's a formula. So the county typically collects the property tax, but they distribute the tax according to what jurisdiction it's in. So if the property is in a city, a certain amount goes to the county, a certain amount goes to the city, and so on.
But what they're doing, they're taxing more of this, and they're taxing new construction and trying to generate using the construction business, your industry,
yes,
to raise taxes on new construction to pay for things that are not related somewhat to the new construction. They're trying to pay for other things right now. Isn't that right? They want affordable housing. They want transit money. Isn't that what's happening in new construction right now?
Yeah, this is absolutely right. Our industry, the building industry, is the horse that pulls the cart that everybody rides in. And this is one of the messages that I remind our legislators and regulators, is that if you want a strong community, if you want strong financial performance, you need a strong building industry, because we are the ones that pull the cart.
Yeah, I wonder, where do you think the most new construction? I mean, Joe, I've asked Joe this. The three places in Jackson County where new construction is going on mostly. Of all the construction, new construction, what are the three areas you think where it's really coming in from?
East Medford, White City, Southwest Medford.
East Medford, yes, number one by far. What'd you say? White City, yes, that's true.
Southwest Medford.
It's fourth. What's the other place?
Medford?
Eagle Point. Eagle Point is where new construction, there's a lot of it. In the last MLS stats, and this is what's so interesting with Brad, I want your comment on it. There were a total of 59. I'm sorry, let me get that again. Start over here. In Josephine County, new construction, there were only 7 in the last 3-month period, okay? In Jackson County, here it is. Jackson County had 75 in that same period. But you still say that's not what it doesn't keep up with the demand? Is that what you're still saying? It doesn't keep up with that?
If we had the manpower to build to the market, right now we're underbuilding the market. Based on what I have heard, if we had the manpower to do it, if we could build to the full capacity of the market, we would have to build 2.5 times the housing we're building right now.
2.5 times. Wow.
If we could,
I don't know where you would put that. Where would you? It is not even close to having a number of developments around. Is there for something like that? I mean,
well,
close.
that's a different discussion. So that part of the discussion is where are we going to find the buildable lots to build all these homes that people want to live in, right? So this is where we remind everybody and where we remember Oregon was the most moved to state in the union for
several years.
For 2014.
That's right.
And 2000, not the most traveled to, not the most
No,
visited.
most moved into
state in the union, 2014 and 2015,
Yeah.
and the third most moved to state in 2016 and 2017.
All right, but
where are all those people going?
And where are they going? And the
Fortunately, most came here for Portlandia.
I say they didn't come here. They went to Portland. They went to Willamette Valley first of all.
Is Portlandia in Oregon? Is it really part of Oregon?
Oh, boy, it's more and more each day. I should be in the dictionary soon, I would imagine.
Martha, you two have biases in your deal. Well, anyway, the question becomes: you're talking about building these houses, Brad, and it seems to me that it's all the same. Everything being built is the same kind of housing. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath. No alternative housing. We talk about a lot. We got a break coming up here in about a minute. But I want next segment. I want to talk to you about that because
that might be tied to our ability to build some multi-family units and some of the bigger projects. Again, we're looking for people to be able to build those.
Yeah. Got a great response for you when we get on the other side of the break.
You think so? We're coming up here in a second here.
I
I'm just
guarantee
curious
I do.
because we talk about it so much of where do people go. I still think one of the reasons we have the listings have been down, and by the way, they are coming back. Yep. They really are. There's been quite a listing surge in certain prices. By the way, and there was one. There were 4, I think. Sold over $1 million properties in the last week here.
Wow.
I mean, it's really interesting as you watch, what sells and what's not selling, what's moving and what's not, what price and where it's going. It all adds up. There's just a lot of activity, whether you buy, you sell, even investing. It's still a robust real estate market. We got a break coming up here on the Real Estate Show. We're with Brad Bennington. He's the CEO of the Builders Association of Southern Oregon. Lots going on all over the market. We got a break. Don't forget, you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshoworegon.com. Our new website. There's some great information there. Please check it out anytime. And we are coming right back to KCMX right after this. And welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KCMX. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you here today, along with the CEO of the Builders Association of Southern Oregon, our good friend Brad Bennington, who's been on our show many times. Yeah. It's always every time Brad comes in, we learn something. We learn something new. First of all, because this is what this guy does. He's also on the Jackson County Planning Commission, which would be like having your nails removed, as far as I'm concerned.
It's not that bad.
And then he's also a member of the Jacksonville City Council. And you're active all over the state in promoting home building and home ownership as well. So you're a busy guy. So
couple of state boards and one national board I sit on. Yeah.
So you know what's going on when we talk about new construction. Okay. Before the break, Brad said you had some news here. So let's let you. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, Pete, what you said is like, hey, it looks to me like it's all the same stuff, building all the same stuff, and what's the deal with that? And I said I'd have a great response for you, and here it is. When you look at the cars that are driving down the road, how many Toyota Camrys do you see, and how many Lamborghinis do you see? Right?
But you don't see very many of them.
So the most sold, and I think this is true. I think the most sold car in America is a Toyota Camry because it meets most people's needs. It's what they want to drive. Fits most of their needs. You got sports cars, you got trucks, you got a lot of other stuff, but you got more of that than anything else. The number one product that people want to buy for housing is your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, attached 2-car garage on a little bit of a lot.
Well, because you can make the most money on that. That's why, right? Isn't that what it is?
Consumer preference.
Now that's what people want to buy. And here's another interesting fact that I'm going to bet that hardly anybody else has heard. And here it is. First part's a question you already know the answer to. What is the population of the state of Oregon, plus or minus?
3.5 million.
4.1, pretty close. 4.1 million people is if you go to the arbiter of all knowledge, which is Wiki whatever is what I call it, You know, Wiki would ever tell you that Oregon's got a population of about 4.1 million people. How many people reached retirement age in California in 2017?
Well, probably more than that. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, Brad.
4.5 million.
Okay, you're going to
Four and a half million.
But
so the number one job once you reach retirement is to not outlive your money.
Yep.
That is a state that has a very high tax imprint on people, so they're going to go somewhere. And Oregon has done a great job of promoting itself as a place to retire.
Okay, I mean, we're not, but not all of those people want three-bedroom, 2-bath houses. The problem is that yes, those sell. Yes, that's where the money's made. I understand that, but somewhere, some developer, someplace, some city, somewhere is going to have something that's going to be innovative and changeful. It's going to have an impact in this valley for smaller places, for people, individuals to buy and things like that. The millennials are out there. It's not the same, boys and girls. It's not the same family style that's out there. Our families are changing, and the need for housing is changing, even though I understand that.
Builders build to the market.
I know they do, but who's going to do something different? Is anybody going to do anything different?
Well, you know, what I would say is look at another one of our members, PMCI, which is the Smith family. They're the number one builder of apartments. You know, they're the ones that are building all there across from Weimar
on West Main, yes.
And over there on Stewart.
And I bet they're going to be all full.
They are, and they're a local family-owned company. They're invested in the community, and they do a wonderful job. The products that they build, they're comfortable, they're attractive, they got good parking, and that's a market that they are very, very active in. But it's also a market that they've worked very hard to define. They've learned how to do it. It takes an awful lot of knowledge and financial strength to do that market and make it work. Most of your builders are you're going to build to the market. So it's what the public wants is what they're going to build, because those are the people that are going to buy your product when you get done building it.
Well, but that's only one segment. I mean, we talk about this, Brad and I will never agree on this particular thing, but it's still only one part of the market. I mean, people I've met, the reason I say this, well, I'm so passionate on it, is that I've got a lot of clients who are older than me, and we deal with this. I deal with this kind of issues literally every day with clients, older clients who are trying to downsize and change their deal. And they not necessarily want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. They would like something smaller, you know, but they want to own something. That's the key to it. To me, it's like Ashland's cottage housing ordinance allows you to buy small little parcels of land.
Got a great answer for you on that.
Okay, what?
Yeah. So there is a contractor that's doing a great job of that, and it's W.L. Moore out there just a little bit west of Central Point, out there in Twin Creeks. Yeah. There is a lot of really nice product that they build out there. They've got some condos out there. They've got some 2-bedroom build out there, and it's a wonderful mixed-use development. I think in totality, it's something like 200 acres out there that they've been developing, which for our market is pretty big.
They're just jumping into phase 3. They've got room to grow still.
Well, I have seen some innovative subdivisions around the state that have all sorts of mixes of these homes, from tiny homes on up to large homes.
Yeah. So and remember, to build something, to develop something from the ground up, you're looking at a development arc of 3 years. So you've got to acquire the property. Okay. You have to go through this long, tortuous, involved procedure of getting meeting all the approval
That's
standards.
only in Jackson County. It's only here.
It's pretty much Oregon.
Yeah,
pretty much Oregon.
All right.
But you know, you mentioned Eagle Point. I can show you a builder in Eagle Point who's got he has a subdivision that's ready to go, ready to build on, if he can just get this wetlands mitigation issue that he's been working on for the last 3 years, taken care of. He's spent over $150,000 on reports, not doing anything, just reports. Okay. This engineer and that engineer and that engineer. 3 years and $150,000 of his money invested in this thing, and he still doesn't have approval to build anything. Okay,
and when you're around wetlands, you better anticipate that's going to happen to you anymore.
So you want to know
can't do these things, right? It's going to happen.
So the wetlands.
Look at me.
You two, I don't know about you two.
So this wetlands was an irrigation pond that was built in the 1950s. It was a drain. It was a guy. So I'm just saying is that. Our builders are working literally overtime to create product out there, and they're not getting a lot of help from the regulatory authorities.
Unless your industry is going to change big time, because zero net homes, zero net energy homes are coming. They're in California. If you want to see what some of those are like, by the way, Verde Village down in Ashland, they're built several of those homes now. They've sold, I believe they've sold almost half of them, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a demand for some of that. I mean, there's lots of different things out there, and
by gosh, if California does it, Pete, we better do it here too.
Well, we are. Oh, believe me, we are.
That's why we live on this side of the border, so it stays on that side.
Zero net homes. That's the future.
Great.
If you can
Isn't? I mean,
save
it is
the world
future.
we've got what 1/1000th of the world's population.
Yeah, all those things are great as long as you can afford it.
Well, it seems like obviously people can. I'm telling you, I don't know, but it seems weird. I want to get back to the stat. Just tell you a little bit about also what is happening with new construction in terms of price. 5 years ago,
Getting cheaper.
prices
right?
are up 64% from 5 years ago in new construction. The average in Jackson County now in that 3-month period was $331,000. So these things aren't going down, and they're becoming less affordable as we go along. They're up 17% raise in a year compared to the overall rate in this county of 10% rise. New construction had a rise of 17%. That's demand. I understand. It's supply and demand. I understand
the
that.
last people that are responsible for those increases are the developers and the people building those homes. Please help me.
And the reason Eagle Point, you talked about Eagle Point.
It's not the developers adding the charges and the costs.
I understand. But in Eagle Point, you talked about the reason so much new construction is going out there. It's going to continue out there. Remember, they added 2,400 acres.
Yep.
In the urban growth boundary, I don't know how many years ago that was, that made Eagle Point actually the potential of being the biggest city in Jackson County.
Yeah.
You know that? Seriously.
Wow.
So if that land is developed, Eagle Point will be could be the biggest city in Jackson County, or at least number 2.
Yeah, and of course they've got that beautiful golf course out there.
Yeah.
So there's several drivers, some of which we talked about before about why costs are getting driven. You know, the largest cost component in a home is the dirt underneath the house. And years ago we talked about the fact that we got kind of a break because when the housing industry went off the edge of a cliff, property got very, very cheap. You could go around. You could literally buy lots for pennies on the dollar.
$30,000, $25,000 lots. Remember those?
$15,000, $20,000.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, those days are over, aren't they? Now.
And you'll remember that we had this discussion. We said there's going to come a day when the last of those lots have finally been recycled. That there is going to be a step where you're going to have a house over here on Apple Street that is identical
3-4 years ago
to this house over on Maple Street. It's the identical house, but they're $100,000 different.
Yeah.
And that's because this house was built on recycled cheap property, and this house was built on newly acquired, newly developed property according to the new development rules. NEHB report we've talked about before. NEHB did a national study and found out that the national average of government regulatory compliance on a new home is 34%. That's nationwide average.
That's the cost added, the total cost of the house. 34% of that is 34% regulatory additions.
34% of the cost of a new home across the United States.
That's what you're paying taxes. Is what you're paying in roughly your taxes is about 30%, right? I mean, it's about the same.
Here in our market, it's over 40%, but just to make the math easy, let's just say it's 40%. So when you look at a $300,000 house, which is about the threshold for affordable housing, unfortunately, it's about the lowest cost single-family detached home you can find nowadays is about $300,000. $120,000, 40% of that is simply government regulatory oversight. $120,000.
Well, I've learned one thing: real estate and new construction is easy to tax, and government people love to tax because it's an easy thing to tax.
It's a biggie. It's a biggie bank.
And there's a lot of money involved with it, and everybody gets their little handout, don't they?
Easy
That's
targets.
amazing out of that. We're with Brad Bennington of the Builders Association of Southern Oregon. Our next break, we're going to talk a little bit about, you got a big event going on in Josephine County. I know you're expanding yourself out there because someone had, like real estate, you know, we got the Oregon Association of Realtors, you know, and they're mighty. They're really good at lobbying, and you do that for the builders and kind of thing for new homes and for new homes. And so we'll let you talk about that when we come back in your new event up there in Josephine County that you're involved with. That's really kind of cool.
It is.
You have been, I don't know about you, but it's just so much going on. A lot of people, you know, looking. And I think this is going to be a big month. March, John L. Scott last month. Oh my goodness, what a huge month they had.
And you know, this previous week I had some clients that I had not probably talked to in about 2 years, and the inventory is so low, and they had their little target, they had their little place in mind, and sure enough, it popped up, and that's the one we had 20 offers
Well,
on. That's how long some of the buyers have just kind of been biding their time, paying down the house they live in now, and just waiting till they can find a really acceptable property. They're not going to move just to move or buy just to buy. It's got to be the right one.
Well, I'll tell you, the mortgage interest rates are really the big unknown key here. And I know this last week they're roughly between 4.5%, 5.5% for 30-year fixed, and good creditor kind of thing out of that. And boy, if it goes up, buying power goes down, and the whole market will change drastically. So as long as those interest rates stay right where they are, a little bit, maybe a little bit higher, it's going to continue to go. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to afford the new construction that Brad's talking about here that now averages $331,000 in Jackson County. We got a break coming up. The Real Estate Show. One more segment to go here. Thanks for joining us. We're coming right back to KCMX right after this. And welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KCMX. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you. Don't forget, if you have any real estate issues and questions, please give us a call. You can email us at peterjoe@realestateshoworegon.com. Check out our new website if you would. It's got some great information. You can also check out you can search anywhere on the MLS actually for properties. So hope you'll check that out at realestateshoworegon.com. Brad Bennington's the CEO of the Builders Association of Southern Oregon.
Howdy, folks.
And he's been with us for years, and we've seen him really change a lot over the years, because now you're the CEO of this thing, and it's growing. As we all figured when you were put in charge of this thing, you were going to take the builders and make builders and the whole business around that something special. And you're doing that, aren't you? You're really trying to do that.
Well, we've been blessed. We've got good leadership. One of the things that I tell a lot of people, remind people, nationwide, we lost over half of all of our builders and developers between 2007 and 2012. I mean, literally gone. Here in Oregon, it was worse. Here in Oregon, we lost 60% of all of our builders and developers. In Jackson and Deschutes County, we lost almost 70%.
Yeah, lots of them.
So it was a bloodbath. So the fact that this industry is coming back, it shows that there's a demand for services here in Jackson County, here in Southern Oregon, and the board that we have now, we have good, strong business leaders. We have conservative financial leadership. Our industry is one of the most regulated industries in the United States, and the reason that we need an association like ours that provides education, advocacy, and policy support is that if you want affordable housing practices that are safe and sustainable and affordable, you need us. The legislators and regulators that do what they do, they need to know what the impacts are of what they're trying to do. They need our help to help think through these things that they do. And our builders and developers, they need our support for education, for public interface, for all of it. So we've been very, very blessed with our set of circumstances here.
One of the things before we get out of here today is right now the markets all across the board. It's really important that, as we're saying, if you're on that fence now, because
get off the fence.
And our good friend Alice Lehman, we were talking the other day also about how much is the market going to continue, or has it peaking, or is it peaking here in the next few months? That's something we're going to keep an eye on, because I'm not sure. As interest rates go up, again, that buying power goes. So you're saying, really, to you all, if you're on the fence, now may be the ideal time to do this before things change.
Right. So last year we had over $500 billion worth of damage between the storm in Texas, the storm in Florida, the damage in Haiti, and the fires in California. There's only so many companies that make building materials.
And building materials, absolutely.
So we already talked about the fact that the cost of dirt continues to go up because of government regulatory practices. We can't help that. We now have a shortage of building materials. We can't help that. We saw the price of OSB board double within 90 days, which is one of the primary components of housing. We have a skilled labor shortage. We have a subcontractor shortage. And on top of all that, we have a bunch of new rules in the building code that was just adopted January 1. So we have all of these cost drivers, none of which builders have anything to do with. None of it.
It doesn't have anything to do with the building of the house, does it? Those things. It really doesn't.
So when people ask, why is new housing so expensive and why is it becoming more expensive? These are the answers, and none of it has to do with builders charging more for what they do. We're probably the biggest victims there because we're the ones that get squeezed in the middle. But what we can tell your listeners is When it comes to housing, if you can find a house that'll work for you, the overwhelmingly likely choice for you is buy it now. It's only going to be more expensive the further you go down the timeline.
Yeah, get in line, get it ready. You're
Get
right,
in
'cause
line now.
It's going to. I think housing in general is going to be that way. Whether you're buying a resale home or whatever, but some
Way
people,
more demand than we can satisfy, and builders, we're paying what we have to for labor, we're paying for what we have to for material, we're paying what we have to for regulatory costs, and all of those costs are only going up.
Well, I know back in February you have your home show out at the Expo Park
Yeah.
here in Medford. You've got one going on in Grants Pass this weekend too.
Josephine County Home and Rec Show going on right now today and Sunday, and at the beautiful fairgrounds in beautiful Grants Pass, Oregon.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you got the same kind of thing going on. Is it full? Tell me what's going on there.
It really is. It's fully, Grants Pass. I love Grants Pass. It kind of reminds me of my hometown of Klamath Falls a little bit. I see log trucks every once in a while and cruising through
There
town.
are
But
such things still.
but Josephine County is a wonderful county, great people down there, and we're looking forward to using this event as a way to bring support services to their builders as well.
I mean, I know it was winter, but Josephine County got to have more than 7 new constructions going on there. That's not.
And I think one of the best things it does is you put people in businesses that support the industry.
You bet.
The appliance, I mean, all kinds of support products that are going to get together and get to meet consumers that are ready, have
Right.
some money, and are ready to do some jobs. It's a real stimulator for the local economy and the local businesses, as we've seen from the success stories in the Jackson County Home Show.
You betcha.
That's a trickle down.
You're-
That's a real trickle down,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It
From,
is.
When you think about it that way, it's a huge economic driver. And we'll see where it goes. So, what do you got cooking? I mean, this is going to continue. We're here into the summer months now. Are you hearing of any new developments? I mean, you guys are around this stuff. Is there stuff coming up or anything that you can tell us?
Yeah,
That's
they're punching through Aspen Street all the way to Kings Highway, and they're going to ruin my street with because of all the traffic that's
you're going to be on You're going to be on an arterial street, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a new day, but I am excited to see. I've seen that probably 10 acres at the end of Aspen that has just sat there in the 19 years that I've been there. So when I saw it start to move dirt, I actually, despite my traffic concerns, was excited because I know there's a new group of homes that are going to go in there. And Kings Highway has got some really interesting, huge lots and big homes set back off the road there. But there's some spaces that some infill is happening there that's really exciting to see.
Is it possible that we might see a development with all sorts of types of homes on it, from duplexes to tiny homes to
don't get your
3 and
hopes up.
2? See, I guess I'm going to continue squawking on this until somebody does this.
Down in Ashland has got
Laz
a
could do it.
17 unit, and it's got multifamily. They are moving some dirt on projects like that. But like Brad said, the planning takes time, and the market forces also drive what you can build and sell and continue to build and sell.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, the big news as far as people like us are concerned is that 4,000 acres that, that will come in with the Medford Urban Growth Boundary Expansion. So that's going to be really helpful, and everything I know about that indicates that is going to go through.
4,000 acres.
Yeah, we're bringing in 4,000 acres. Now that's
It's all spoken for.
No, I know.
That puts it in the UGB, and then to actually build on it, it needs to be annexed, and that takes a little bit more time to do that. But that 4,000 acres,
4,000 acres.
But keep in mind that's a 20-year land supply. That is a projected 20-year land supply. So what that is that's going to give our community some breathing space to figure out some of these expansion issues.
And there were some areas and some acreage that was left off of those 4,000 acres. There
And
were
that's
some
not-
compromises that had to be made.
And Pete-
Medford just keeps expanding out.
And Pete,
further
that's
out we go, don't we?
That's not all buildable acres either. There's an awful lot of green space in there.
True.
Well, we talk about housing. Housing just draws all sorts of emotions from people because we all have to have
seen that in-
housing.
we've seen that in our program today.
Look at the issues with homeless people and how different communities deal with that. And we've got issues here in our own communities that are so different as well. We're out of time. Brad Bennington, nice to visit with you.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Joe.
show,
Good
Brad.
luck this
Thank
weekend.
you.
The Josephine County Home and Recreation Show at the
You bet.
fairgrounds there, headed out. And of course, you can check out any of our past shows. Of course, we're on video now on our YouTube channel at realestateshoworegon.com. We hope you'll check them out. There's some terrific shows, everything from when you need building permits on down the line. So please check those out. We encourage you to do so. So on behalf of Joe Brett, I'm Pete Belcastro, and for Brad, have a great week, everybody. God bless you all. We'll talk to you next weekend right back here on The Real Estate Show.
Bye, folks.